about I put the kettle on? I just want a shower.
Of course.
I don't mind staying a while. You know, to help if you want. Are you okay?
Can't believe this.
Me either.
I mean, you. Where were you, Eden? Where were you when this was happening to her?
What? I didn't even know.
You're supposed to be her friend. How could you let this happen?
Don't you think I hate myself enough?
We are Si and Sophie. This is Coastal News, a home and away podcast, your weekly episode companion podcast for your favourite Aussie soap.
Right, I'm back.
Yay!
You're back. Hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. Thank you. Are you?
Oh, Stella, thank you very much. Thank you very
Good,
much. I must say, before we go any further, I know many of our listeners got in touch, but happy birthday for last week.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and
Once
thank you for
again.
everybody that got in touch with me on social media. That was so kind. Really appreciated every single message. So, yeah, I had a lovely birthday, and I got spoilt rotten. So
Milked it like a cow, didn't you, girl?
I did. Why not?
Absolutely. What did you get?
I
Anything
got
nice?
I mainly got money. I'll be honest, because you
Well,
know, girls
makes
got
the
to
world go round.
eat. But I got a beautiful original piece of art from my mum and dad of Dave Grohl, because he's love of my life.
Saw the pictures. Amazing.
I got a handbag, some trainers, some like toiletry bits and pieces from Rituals, because that's my fave shop. I got loads of stuff. So much.
Pretty good haul here.
It was. I got spoiled, rotten. And I got cake, I got balloons, I got sweets, everything. Spoiled.
Oh, well, do you feel any different?
No.
That's the main thing.
No, don't feel any different. Hopefully you don't look any different. Yeah.
Never. Well, until next year.
I know.
Happy
yeah.
birthday.
Oh, thank you.
No worries. We also must mention that Home and Away on your birthday won a Logie.
I know. It's what I wished for when I blew out the candles on my cake. I was like, please let Home and Away win the Logie. And then, it did. So I take this on, it was me asking the universe for this.
Yeah. Manifested it. Thank you.
It did.
On behalf of all Home and Away viewers. Thanks for that one. Yeah. Most popular drama. I think Alf was on one of the newsreels saying
Yes.
it's their 49th Logie. They've had more Logies than Octanas. But well deserved. And I think, we're going to talk into it. Obviously, the week we're watching right now here in the UK shows you what amazing television this show makes and how underrated it sometimes is. So, congratulations to all the cast, crew, everybody involved in the show, the whole team, the whole flaming gang. Congratulations.
Yeah. Congrats. Yeah, well deserved.
We were well happy, weren't we? Commiserations for the old Dinah chicks there.
Yeah, that was a shame that they didn't get, and James as well, because James was nominated, wasn't he? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
But there's always next year.
Yes.
There's always next year, isn't there?
Yeah.
Now, speaking of drama of the year, most popular drama, this week have we had a bucket loads of it, Sophie?
Oh my God. I'm frazzled.
Strap in, right? This is gonna be not strap on. This is gonna be
God.
This is going to be a pod and a half, right? All the emotions.
Oh, now you've got me pod and a half strap on. I can't. I need a minute. Oh God. Okay. Whew. It's gonna be one of them days. Okay.
It is, and it's not all going to be like probably a bit of a heads up to listeners. And if you obviously watched the show this week, most of you will have done. That's why you're listening to us. But some of the topic of conversation might be very sensitive, so just a heads up. But we'll try our best to end on a light note, eh? End on a light note. Do you want your headlines, Sophie?
I do.
Cash and the rest of YCPD rescue Justin from Vita Nova. And yes, that was this week. We just checked. Marilyn's fight against stunning organics reaches an explosive climax out on the Gully Road. Mac agrees to take a step back out of Xander and Kate's friendship. And Felicity has her drink spiked, leading to devastating consequences.
Please take the time to like, subscribe, and review Coastal News wherever you source your podcasts and ensure you never miss an episode.
So, Justin, if you'll remember, cast your mind back.
This feels like ages ago, I'll be honest.
It does. It doesn't. It does.
Monday?
It doesn't help how we've been recording lately, but Justin, he was shot in the leg by Crossbow Baldy, if you remember. Was it Baldy or Beardy?
It was Baldy. It was definitely Baldy. Mm-hmm.
Definitely Baldy. Man down. The jig is up, and it looked. I mean, I'm a bit squeamish at best times. It looked painful, didn't it?
It did.
And now Andrew's got to sort of try and help him. Andrew wants to help him, which was honestly music to my ears, actually, because I was a bit worried about. We were on the fence, weren't we, last time we spoke, and I was a bit worried about whether Andrew was Team Defoe or Team Justin. She won't allow it anyway. He's in a really bad way. He's trying to, he's sneaking in, isn't he? He's trying to help him out. He's trying to put pressure on his wound, and she's coming in and she's locking him back up, and oh gosh, and Andrew's trying to help him again, and you're just thinking, will this ordeal ever end, or is Justin going to just bleed to death on this scruffy mattress in this what looks like an abattoir? And then there's lots of mention of his dad's during these scenes. I don't know if you noticed. So my dad taught me how to stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
This is wrong. You're a good person. So we've been looking for clues about the dad and the safe house, haven't we? And so the ears were pricking at this point.
Yeah.
He does say to him, "Go and find my phone," and thank God he does. He gets himself down to Margot's office of some kind, gets himself in that cabinet, risking it all. He is. Did you notice that cabinet had an all-seeing eye on it?
Yeah,
quite like that.
Watching you.
He, not only can Andrew swim, he's good at picking a lock and all. He had that open in no time, that cabinet.
It's been taught some survival skills, definitely, hasn't he?
He has. He won't read you a night bedtime story, but he'll pick a lock. He's got his strengths, poor lad. He calls, gets the phone, doesn't he, quite quickly, and calls the police. Or does he call the police, or does he call Leah? He calls Leah.
And Leah's with Cash, isn't she? So Cash is there, and Cash calls the backup or whatever.
Well, did you notice Cash was immediately alerted to the phone being switched on?
Oh yes, that was that was ridiculous. Ping! We've got a signal. What? It's been a second.
He's at the compound. Like, blimey.
Yeah, must be strong network there. Wow.
Telstra. Yeah. And then this all leads to, Leah's beside herself, isn't she? What she feared was true. He's there. He's hurt. He's in a bad way. That's all she's heard. Police then storm. That's enough for them to be allowed in, and they storm the compound. Margot's not going quietly, is she? You traitor! You traitor! Cash is telling her it's over. You know, they're taking her into custody and she's at it. You're killing us all because, you know, this whole doomsday prepper stuff. It's what Andrew's father wanted. So I'm ears pricked again because we didn't know whether Andrew was friend or foe of Vita Nova, did we, Andrew's dad?
It's not been
Andrew,
clear. Yeah.
I still don't think it is, do you?
Well, the only thing that's really confusing me is why were Andrew and his dad in that house and not living on the compound? Because I thought before it was because they were hiding from his mum, because his mum had obviously dubbed him into police and like reported him missing, etc. He's with the cult. But the cult have known for 10 years that Andrew's mum's been dead because they obviously killed her. So why is Andrew and his dad still hiding in this house? That's the only bit that doesn't quite add up for me. What were they hiding from?
Exactly, and it's not been explained, and
no,
we've not been back since this arrest, have we? We've not seen.
No.
I feel like we need to see Margot being cross-examined, being questioned, finding out the answers. We sort of need Andrew to open up as well, but we've just parked it at this point, haven't we? We've not seen them since.
No.
So I'm holding out hope for this week because I'm left with, I'm happy that Andrew's out of there and Margot's behind bars, but I've got so many questions. I've got more questions than I started with regards to the safe house, why Andrew was there. She's obviously screaming, all his father wanted was for him to be safe. So did the father think that he wasn't safe at the compound?
Yeah.
You know, she's contradicting herself and I'm getting confused.
I am, and I want to know. We heard about Andrew having a sister as well. So does the sister know now that her mum's dead?
True. Yeah.
And will they see the sister in the bay? Will she come and meet Andrew? Like, I've got loads of questions about that.
Of course. Is she there? Is she at the compound? Like, there's so much that needs to. So I hope this isn't it. I really do. Justin's rushed to hospital, isn't he? Finally, you know, with this crossbow in his leg. So Leah's there too. Margot's brought in for a psych evaluation. Right past.
It's a fail.
That'll be a you. See me later.
Oh dear.
And she's yelling at Andrew as she's on her way past. Fancy bringing her through there.
I know.
Really?
That was a bit dumb, wasn't it?
Surely she'd have been assessed in custody. Anyway, we'll jenny that bit. But it did give us this amazing moment. Good old Leah, because she's mouthing off, isn't she, at them all? If your father knew, he would be so ashamed of you, you traitor, blah blah blah. And Leah just slaps and shuts her up.
It was so good.
It was good, wasn't it?
It was such a Peggy Mitchell slap. You know, it was like when Peggy used to slap Pat round the chops on EastEnders. And I felt it.
It was good, wasn't it? It was a good one. And we
So
don't get
good.
that often on Home and Away, really.
No.
We don't get too much of that sort of women fighting.
It is funny though, because you know, we have to remember that her partner Justin is currently he's been convicted of assault and he's doing anger management, and she's quite angry with him for the fact that he can't hold his temper and all that. And then Leah does this and we all praise her. So I do feel a little bit hypocritical, like, but I did enjoy it. I'll be honest, I would have loved to slap her as well, but it does feel a bit wrong to praise her for that and to, you know, condemn Justin for what he did.
Yeah, you raise a good point there, absolutely. And we'd have condemned Justin, especially me. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you are right to bring that up and tell me off. You are right. However,
no, I'm not
in that moment,
I'm the same. I enjoyed it, but then I do feel this like pang of guilt where I'm like, it is assault and it is illegal, and she probably shouldn't have done it. But oh my God, it was good.
It was good. In that, I actually felt the release, even though it wasn't me who committed it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Honestly, I exhaled a noise that was somewhere halfway between a laugh and a cheer.
Oh, I just went
at the TV.
Just like this weird, like inward gasp. Like, I loved it.
And Margot turns to Cash and she says, "Are you going to charge her with assault?" I didn't see anything. Mm.
In
I
a room
thought-
full of people. That
I
was
know,
hilarious.
yeah. It was hilarious, but it was camp. It was camp
It was-
Christmas.
It was good. Loved it.
Mhm. Loved it stuff. So we've got lots of questions now. Where we go from here? We've got her being psych evaluated. I want to see her get cross-examined. I mean, they've all been a bit tied up with other events this week. Have the law enforcement. So I'm wondering where she's been for the next 3 days. Is she just bobbing
I reckon
around the
she's
hospital?
I reckon she's in with Heather, sharing a cell with Heather somewhere, having a little chat about the Bay and how much they hate the people there.
Making
Yeah.
bombs.
Yeah,
Mm.
because they've both got Leah as a common enemy, haven't they? Because
That's true.
Heather kidnapped Leah, so that'd be quite funny.
That's true. Very true. Very true. Yeah, it would be funny that actually. We just want to Heather back, really.
We just need like a psych ward episode. That'd be great. Spin off. Yeah.
Let's see where we go. Let's see what we find out. There's more, right? There's more coming. Have you heard anything?
No, I don't know anything about the Andrew stuff. So yeah, there must be more to come, but I haven't heard anything.
And selfishly, I want to see a bit more of. I don't want the cult to just be over now. Like selfishly, I sort of want that to go on a bit more. Because as cults go, it's not going down as my favourite.
No, I don't really know why she kept screaming, "You've undone all our hard work." I was like, what have you actually done? I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. We're all going to die now. Yeah, you were anyway. You're just living in a caravan on a field. I don't understand.
Just looked like they were camping.
How can they survive? I assume nuclear war or something like that's going to wipe out the entire population. Something really bad. How were they prepping for that? I still don't understand how they thought they were going to survive the apocalypse.
No, me neither. Me neither. Cash does say to her, though, we're all going to die, but not today.
That was so action B movie. Oh, I loved it. Oh, I loved it. I love a B movie. Oh dear.
Oh gosh. Let's see. We'll park this till next week's ep, and we'll come back and we'll see if anything's progressed. I'm expecting it to. So, meanwhile, in the Bay, Marilyn, she's late for work. Many an interview to give. She's in high demand, is Maz at the minute. And she's heard about this box. If you remember last week, a box was delivered to the diner. Kirby took delivery of it. Stunning organics, blazoned all over the front of it. Must have been some kind of mistake, but it's in everybody's way, this box. And if you remember, Leah took it back to hers because people were tripping over it. We thought that was a bit strange, rather than just stick it outside or in the stock room or something. But anyway, Leah took it home, didn't she? And now Marilyn's heard that it's at her house and agrees to go and pick it up on her break. Now, the whole reason this box is ending up there is because they're playing a bit of a game with you. We know as the audience, we've had a zoom into the box. We know there's a bomb in there yet to go off, but the characters don't. So they're passing it around like it's all very innocent. And we're like, it's going to go off. It's going to go off on Leah. It's going to go off on Cash. It's going to go off on Irene. Like, that's the whole point of this pass the parcel that we did for about 3 episodes. I was happy to go with it because had I not lived in the UK and had 0 spoilers, although I do try to avoid many, you do see that it's impossible to avoid them all. So we knew there was a bomb happening, didn't we? But what do I want to say? Yeah, I can imagine getting well into that. Like, who's it going to go off on? You can imagine it, can't you? Who's got the bomb today? Now somebody else has got it. This is exciting. Yeah. Just sort of take the edge off a bit, knowing a little bit about what goes on, but never mind. Yeah. She agrees to pick it up. So she goes over on a break and she's like, sorry, Irene's being cranky about the box. And then takes the box back to the dine. And Leah's like, shut up, get out. I've got more things going on. My husband's missing.
She didn't actually tell her, does she? She just goes, I'm busy. Get out.
Rack off.
I was like, okay, that was rude, even for Leah. She can be rude, but that was really.
She can be Tres rude. And the box is now back at the diner. So this was like the next day. Like, it's back at the diner now. It's come full circle, and Maz is
This
sort
wound me up. I'm sorry, but
Go
it
on.
got kicked out of the diner and it got sent home with Leah and Cash all night. He was literally sitting next to it on the coffee table all night, and now it's back in the diner again, and that's okay, apparently, for it to be in the diner now. Come on. Leave it in the car. Leave it
I
somewhere.
know.
The fact that it's gone right back to where it was, there was no point in it being removed from the diner.
I'm like, are we blowing the diner up? Come on.
Yeah, wow.
And I'm putting two and two together because I'm like, the pear's gone, you know. I tell you what I was doing though, every time someone was near this bomb, I kept going, what's that mysterious ticking noise? Diary.
Oh. Oh no. Oh dear. Yeah.
Was that one of the first internet's first viral videos? I bet it was one of the early ones, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably. All that badger, whatever it was. mushroom, snake. There's people listening to this that don't even know what we're on about. That's the sad bit.
God. Oh my god. Right, so it's back at the diner, and we then see a man. We cut to a man watching videos of Maz, you know, her threatening video she did with Kirby the week before, and what looks like a man, we presume, is Stunning Organics CEO. So you and I were talking last week. It might have been on First Look, can't remember now. This doesn't sound like the way a company operates. It sounds like a rogue loner with a big vendetta. And we were a bit sus about it even. Well, I certainly was sus about it even being Stunning Organics and it being somebody else sort of seizing an opportunity. And this, to me, confirms that. Like, this isn't some sort of corporate person, you know, working in the corporate world thinking, let's send a few bombs and show her a message and try and murder somebody. Like, this is somebody who's very dangerous, and we saw his shoulder. Am I jumping to a conclusion here saying it's a male?
I don't think so. I got the same impression. I don't know whether it was the outline, the silhouette of the person that we saw that made me think it was a bloke. I don't know. I assumed the same thing. It was all very Inspector Gadget, you know, sitting in a chair, looking at a screen and plotting revenge against someone. I loved it. I thought it was really good. I really liked it.
I did.
Yeah.
I did, and a great way to end an episode, because I'm like, oh, and obviously I'm like trying to work out. When you watch these shows, you obviously try to piece it together yourself, like you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a major clue. And the first time we've sort of had a glimpse at what's behind, or who is behind it all, really. On face value, Stunning Organics, big bad CEO, but is it? Is it? I don't
know. I've got some theories from the internet to talk about in your Say on the Bay later.
Okay.
So
we'll
discuss it in length. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That'll be interesting, because I think you and I are leaning to the same direction with it, are we?
I think it's got to be some random. Who's maybe masquerading and hiding behind the fact that she's been so vocal in the newspaper about it being, you know, her one woman fight against Stunning Organics, and someone else has obviously got a grudge and has taken the opportunity to do this. I don't know, or maybe someone at the company has gone on a one person rampage. I just don't think it's the company as a whole, or the company's evil, or I don't know. It's just a bit strange.
That seems a bit too much of a stretch, doesn't it? So
yeah, just not sure. It did
more
feel
of
like
shoulder man, I say.
Yeah, it did feel like the baddie in Inspector Gadget. You know, when he's on the chair and you just see his arm stroking a cat, looking at a screen, and it just felt very much like that, like a baddie, like a proper. I don't know. Not sure.
Yeah.
Just don't feel like it's Stunning Organics. I feel like there's a twist coming.
Yeah, I do. 100%. I do as well. I still think I'm still trying to link the cult to it. That's a work in progress. Because I think they are the only ones evil enough about at the minute that it could be. The we did a poll, didn't we? Are you going to cover that in your say? We did a
I am.
poll.
Yeah.
Oh, fab. We'll come to that later then. Right. So then John is there. He's talking about hiring a van, isn't he? Randomly. So he's at
going
the
to the
diner.
tip because he's got a
gonna
whole list of jobs from Mr. Stewart, hasn't he? That's been landed
Yep.
on his desk, keeping him busy while Mr. Stewart's in Marimbula, I think.
Yeah. So he's doing a tip run and he needs a van for it. So she's Marilyn's like, you know what, Dal, take my box. In fact, take all of those over at Irene's house. I'm thinking, blimey, are they still there?
She's a good friend, isn't
she
she,
is.
Irene?
Can't stand one in the diner, but she'll have 41 in a living room. So he takes the box and he says, yeah, I'm going to get a van. I'll take it and I'll take it to the tip for you. And that'll be the end of Stunning Organics, out of my life forever. That was so massively stressed that is the end of Stunning Organics. You just knew it wasn't.
Foreboding.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I'm like, oh, the bomb's at the surf club now. So it's in the office at the surf club, and John's writing things on it. Or, he's leaning on it. I'm like, John, what's that mysterious ticking noise? Oh gosh, I was getting stressed out. I knew it doesn't blow up there, but I'm still getting stressed out about it. So,
yeah. And he's just redecorated the whole bloody surf club.
I know, imagine.
Oh,
Paint's
dear.
not even dry. Paint's not even dry. Now, Maz then starts receiving threats, doesn't she? Presumably from Shoulder Man, at home on his YouTube.
Yeah.
Saying things like, you need to retract your accusation. Rue's stealing the phone and saying, he doesn't scare me. Let's send a reply. What a load of rubbish. The stuff's gone to the tip now. End of those. He's all bark and no bite, I think she says. But then, unfortunately, Marilyn receives a message saying, too late. And she's no idea what this even means. Too late for what? She's flapping. She's worrying. What is going on? And then the bomb, we were talking about this bomb. Was it ever going to go off? We were actually talking on last week's podcast because, super fans, like this bomb wasn't even ticking, it wasn't even moving. There was a clock, but there was nothing on it, and we were like, how does the damn thing even detonate? God damn it. And it was obviously attached to that phone. So we had an hour then set. Too late, an hour to go, and John's loading it into the van. And he's on his way. Rue's even agreed to go with him and help him out with this huge list Mr. Stewart's given. So they're both of them off to the tip in the van with the bomb. And Marilyn then receives a boom warning with a picture of said bomb. And then the colour drains from her face. Panic. Yeah. There's a bomb in the van. John's got the bomb. It's going to go off. She screams hilariously, I thought. I was absolutely crying laughing. Bomb, there's a bomb, there's a bomb.
She was screaming up the phone when it wasn't even ringing yet. It's hilarious. Love her. I
was running outside shouting, bomb. I'm like, calm down.
Evacuate the diner if that happens. When you loads of people sat in the diner and all they could hear was, it's a bomb. And they were just still sitting there.
Oh. Irene didn't have to ask twice, did she? I said to you, she looked like she shit a brick when she said that. Irene got bombed at the hospital. I bet she had flashbacks to that.
Yeah.
Your normal reaction would be, what? Are you crazy? What are you talking about? But not Irene. Irene's like duck and cover.
Irene's getting PTSD from the last time flashbacks. Oh, God.
It was unintentionally hilarious. Do you not think? Oh,
it was perilous. It was definitely perilous, but there was that slight daytime soap comedy tinge to it, which I needed, to be honest, because if it had been, this week's been really heavy generally, hasn't it? So I think this needed to be a bit. It's scary, but it needed to be a bit lighter, didn't it? The story, I guess. It
did. Marley hears the cries about bombs and agrees to chase in his nice white bleach white, nicely pressed hoodie.
Hoodie, yeah.
Manta ray hoodie. I'm thinking he's going to get that mucky. He's going to get that mucky. Goes and chases John and Rue in the van, in his little VW camper, whatever it is, trying to warn them. So he's beeping behind the car, you know, that whole music's, you know, the incidental music's got me all stressed out. They can't hear him. They're like, who's that beeping us and flashing us behind us?
What about
the time's running out.
Rue was holding her phone going, why is Marilyn trying to call me 1,000 times? Here she's calling me again. Why don't you bloody answer your phone, woman? I was losing my rag.
It was a bit stressful, wasn't it? And I'm thinking it was only 6 times anyway. I can see the screen.
But why say, oh, why is someone phoning me? The quickest way to find out is to answer your bloody phone, Rue.
To be fair to Rue, I won't answer my phone.
I would if Marilyn rang me six times in a row, I'd think, maybe I can answer this.
Fair dues. Right. All this is happening. The incidental music is getting very loud. I'm getting a bit stressed, right? I'm sure you are too. The time is, we've got seconds left on this bomb in the back, haven't we?
Oh, God.
I am absolutely having kittens here. And Marley gets them to stop. He jumps out of the car. He's running over to them. Get out of the van. Get out of the van. It's, you know, doesn't actually explain what it is. They're just like, what the hell? He's telling us to get out. I mean, you would just sit there and be like, what's he saying? What the fuck's he talking about? You would do, wouldn't you?
You would.
So,
he didn't say the B word, I think, which was a mistake. Because if you'd heard that, but then even then you'd just be like, you what? I don't know how I reacted. I think I'd just be like, did he say bomb? I don't know.
Unless you had Irene's experience, so you just immediately duck and dive. Yeah.
Out the window.
Don't need to tell me twice. And they agree to get out because they realise he's frantic, right? So just as they start to get out of the van, massive explosion, huge. I mean, Marley is sent flying. The van is in smithereens. I mean, when you look at that explosion, it was really well done. I mean, bravo. As exciting bombs go, that was a good one.
Good explosion it was. Yeah.
It was thoroughly enjoyed. Behind the scenes available on our Twitter. That courtesy of you. Thank you very much. Now I'm looking at this van thinking, John and Rue are soup here. There's no way you'd survive that.
No, the whole thing was like even the doors were off, weren't they? Because it showed at the end of that episode, it showed the kind of from behind the van in flames, and you could see the passenger seat and the driver's seat both on fire. And I thought, oh, there's no getting out of this, is there? They had about 3 seconds left on the timer when they opened the doors, I'm sure.
Oh, 3 seconds is quite a long time when you think about how long it probably takes to get in and out of a car.
Yeah, but then to get away from the blast.
Well, this is it. So we obviously, that was seen on Thursday's episode. We come to Friday, don't we? You know, all post blast. Nobody can hear a thing. And we do realise that John and Rue are some distance away from the van, but they are in one piece. You know, they've not lost limbs and ears and things. So I'm thinking they must have got out of the van because it wasn't clear when the explosion happened whether they got out. You know, it was a bit like, have they just, like to coin a phrase that you used, barbecued in front of our eyes? Or
didn't put that on Twitter. That was on WhatsApp.
Yeah, that was a private one. Not anymore, sorry. I was giggling. Or you're thinking now, but it's only the next day, a whole 24 hours later, you're like, okay, they must have got out and then been catapulted by the blast, you know, and then their injuries
push you away from it. Because I've never been in an explosion, thank God, but I guess when it goes off in front of you like that, you must get pushed backwards. So maybe their injuries are from the impact of the explosion and not from the actual fire. And I don't know. I don't know how it works. Yeah,
and they're like I said, they're some distance away, so they must have got out of the vehicle just in time,
Mm,
and then they've obviously been still close enough to the vehicle to be
yeah.
really seriously injured. Now,
Mm,
John seems to be a little bit better off than Rue does. Rue is like paralyzed, isn't she? As far as
mm,
we know, she can't feel her legs, she can't move. John is at least talking a bit. Rue's crying out for her dad. I mean, these are frantic scenes here. She's taken to the hospital. Poor Bree's put a shift in this week. She's been called in again.
mm.
Um, got no feeling in her legs. Wants to dad. You know, Marilyn's and Irene have rushed in there. She's feeling dreadful, isn't she? I
Mm.
mean, what these scenes, this explosion, the aftermath, what are your thoughts?
I'm a bit worried, I'll be honest, because obviously Rue is looking really serious. Alf's in Marimbula, so he's going to be on his way down there now, and Marilyn's going to be beating herself up. Yeah,
Mm.
I should be more concerned about Rue, but actually I'm more concerned about the people around her and how they're going to be coping with her being in hospital, and the guilt that Marilyn's going to feel, the guilt that Kirby's going to feel, and watching Mr. Stewart break next week and hoping to God that Mr. Stewart and Marilyn don't fall out over this because they need each other.
Oh, of course. I've not even considered that at this point, you know. But you're right.
Yeah, I'm really worried about the
Mm.
fallout of this. And bless her, it's nothing to do with Rue, the bits that I'm worried about, because I'm like, well, Rue's in the hospital, she's the best place for her. It's everybody else that's going to fall apart now. And that's what I'm worried about next week. What are you thinking?
Well, I've not thought about that, but now it's all I can think about.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. I was thinking from like, because I've got like one of those minds that's like find a solution now, you know, and I'm just thinking, shoulder man, what's he going to do next?
Oh,
You
God,
know,
do you think it's not over?
well, he's missed the target. He was intending to get Marilyn. He's missed it. Marilyn's confidence in the police has waned a bit. You know, there's been a few comments this week about, oh, what are they going to do if I report this text to him? Oh, you know, what if I go down to the police station? It's just a waste of time. Like, her confidence in the police is waning a bit, and Cash does promise her in tonight's episode, you know, well, we'll find them who did this. And I'm like, will you though?
I don't think they did take it seriously enough, actually. And I was thinking about this tonight because on Friday's episode of 6:30, Cash is back in the police station and he's looking through the file again just before Kirby comes in to be interviewed. And he's looking at one of the threats that was made, one of the phone call threats that was made. And he's on the phone to somebody, I assume, at another police department that's maybe the technical analysis department or something, I don't know. And he's saying that there's a missing piece of the paperwork, and he's chasing up the paperwork from the first threat. So I'm wondering whether maybe they did trace it back then, but Cash hasn't got the paperwork for it, so it was never like followed through. Or I feel like they have dropped the ball on this a bit, and it is it is probably their fault for not taking it more seriously.
Yeah, you're right. It seems to be related to the traces on the phone numbers, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think someone's dropped the ball here, and maybe it didn't have to come to this, but I don't know. I just took that from one line that he said when he said there's a missing bit of paperwork.
Yeah, I feel the exact same, and I feel like it's going down that route, me. And like I say, Marilyn said a couple of things this week, like, what are the police going to do? They can't do anything. I've got to go down there again to report every text message. They're doing nothing. Like, you know, she's got that sort of, I've no confidence that this is going to get solved. So I'm in a bit like, oh God, what's going to happen next? Because they've missed the target. Like, that's not what their intention was. That's where my mind was going.
What about Cash as well? Because Cash this week, he's gone rogue with the whole Justin thing. He's got too close to this case with his sister, which we'll talk about. So that could turn into something bad. And now he's possibly dropped the ball and on this Marilyn case. Is Cash going to face some consequences? Because he's not doing a sterling job, is he? Really?
No, he's really not. He's really, really not. He's really struggling, I think. And I think questions should be asked. I think we were saying, was it last week or was it the week before? And we were saying, like, oh, nothing will come of this whole Cash going rogue thing. You watch, you know. Like, actually, when things like this, it's one thing after another. It's not just the one, trying to help a young lad out and they can probably turn a blind eye to it. Like, this is
Yeah.
one failure after another. He's
Mm.
already got history as well from that whole bikey stuff and not wearing his vest properly. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like we might be heading for something for Cash as well. I completely think that. Deservedly so, actually. Deservedly so. Tonight's episode was heavily about the hospital. Marilyn's putting herself up. She has broken the news to Mr. Stewart, so we're assuming he's rushing back as fast as he can. Probably no Martha, kidney bitch, staying away. And now there's this moment where, I mean, poor Rue. Poor Rue. We were wishing her dead.
Still am. Sorry. I'm still clinging on to the hope that she might go into something worse, but there we go.
She's, well, where we've left it, the weekend cliffhanger, she's gone into cardiac arrest, has she? She's not,
Yeah.
she's...
Her heart's not pumping blood, is it, around her body? So I can't remember the medical term for that. Brie did say it, but it's not in my head. Yeah, she's crashed, basically, hasn't she? She's crashed. So
flatlined.
Trying to revive her, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's where we're at. And Marilyn, we've got to watch Marilyn here. Okay. And as you say, her relationship with Alf is something I'd not even considered up to yet. I mean, obviously I would have done when he was back, because like you say,
I'm really worried. I'm really worried because this is, again, when we had last year all the problems with Heather, and he always takes Rue's side, doesn't he? Because obviously Rue is his biological daughter. He treats Marilyn like a daughter, but does he really? There's still that disconnect. The way that Rue and Alf, Mr. Stewart, the way they treat Marilyn sometimes isn't very nice. And I'm just really worried that they're both going to be really angry with her, even though it was Rue that sent that message and said, we're not scared of you. She escalated it. She then didn't answer her phone. Rue's got some part in this. I mean, neither of them could know that there was a bomb. I mean, that's ridiculous. Nobody would have assumed that was going to happen. But I just feel like potentially they could really come down hard on Marilyn and take it out on her. And I worry for Marilyn's mental health again.
Yeah, same. Now you say it.
I don't want to see it.
No, but if he does kick her out, I'd like her to move back in with Irene.
I'd be up for that, because we've been saying for a long time she really needs to either stand on her own 2 feet or move in with somebody else. I just want her to get away from Rue, not necessarily get away from Mr. Stewart, but if it's Mr. Stewart versus Marilyn, with Rue's going to be on Mr. Stewart's side. If it's Rue versus Marilyn, Mr. Stewart's going to be on Rue's side. He's never going to take Marilyn's side over his daughter's. So,
if Rue, we're talking like Rue's going to make it. We know that Georgie Parker's not been filming for a while. She's been
been a play or something.
Yeah, she's been out in a boot. So what does this mean here? Is this an exit for Rue? Could we kill Rue off? Like, is this actually happening, do you think?
Well, we did ask for it last year.
We did.
I think. Whoops. When we did our end of season last year and we talked about what we wanted for next year, it was one of the things on our wish list, wasn't it? That we wanted a whodunit. We wanted a big, like the Charlotte King thing, with somebody that was a veteran, somebody that would shake the core, maybe somebody that we wouldn't necessarily miss, because I don't think they use Rue's character enough for me to miss her off the show.
Yeah. She is a bit spare, or has been in recent years. She's not always been like that.
They're not writing for her. They're writing her as a side character. They don't. I mean, this is the main storyline that she's had for I don't even know how long. When she last was, the main character in a storyline, and not just a side character. I can't remember.
I'm just thinking, this is an awful thing to say, but what's more unbearable than Rue in a wheelchair, or like
oh God,
or Rue bedbound, or Rue, in her recovery, she's going to be impossible. However,
She's not going to make me like her more. That's the shame.
No, well, that's what I'm worried about.
I would have liked her more if she died. I would have felt sorry for her then.
On our anniversary a few weeks ago, and you were in conversation with her, you were saying, we're talking about the 35th year and it, as a whole, and you were saying, we need something that completely throws the year off, like completely destabilizes the show. And I think if they were brave enough to kill Rue, it would absolutely destabilize one of the pinnacle families of the show. Are they brave enough to do it? I don't know. I don't know, but we know Georgie's off doing other things for a while.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean for Rue?
Yeah.
It's interesting, the possibilities at this junction that we're at,
Yeah. And it gives Alf more of a choice, because, not being funny, but if Rue wasn't in the Bay anymore, would Alf be? Would he be in Marimba the full time? I don't know.
Well, there's a question. Are you ready for Alf?
No.
An Alfless home and away?
No, I've never been ready for that. That's not what I wanted when I wanted to kill Georgie off. I just wanted. They either need to start writing her character so that I find her more pleasant to watch, because at the moment I find her difficult because she is just that snarky person that treats Marion like a vulnerable adult, and it really annoys me. And I just think, oh, shut up, Rue. Like, just have a life of your own and stop meddling with other people's lives. If they did that with her, if they gave her something, because I think the last time she had a decent storyline was when Ryder's father was.
The twin.
She was a side. Yeah, she was a side character though. It still wasn't her story. It was still Ryder's story, but that's the last time she had something meaty in her life, when she was looking after Owen and everything else. So she needs a life of her own if they're going to keep her in the Bay.
You've heard it here first, people. Heard it here first.
Get my soapbox out.
Right, the other big story in the Bay, Battle of the Bands, is here finally, and they're going into it very confident, aren't they, Lyric?
Well, Mercedes is.
Well, yeah. God grief.
Good Lord.
Don't get her at all.
No.
The rehearsal finally came together after Kirby got her ass to it, because we had all that drama with her and Theo and pushing through. There's this underlying jealousy with Brie as well, and Mercedes and Remy, and that whole thing's rumbling on, isn't it, in the background? Even on the night where they're performing on Battle of the Bands, Brie's got one eye on what they're looking at and what they're saying to each other, and I'm just thinking, God, this is exhausting. There's this weird thing as well the night before Battle of the Bands, and she wants him to stay over, and he says no, and then you're like, and Eden has to tell him, you can't see what's happening under you. That whole thing.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, bloody hell.
I didn't get this at all. So Brie was like saying, come back to mine, stay the night, and he was going, oh, I can't, I've got to get up early, I've got Battle of the Bands tomorrow, and I was thinking, why can't
They're out on the Raz?
Why can't Bree stay at his house? Why do they have to go to her house? Like, if he wants to be able to be near the band, get up early in his own house and leave with the band, he's got a double bed. She stayed over before. I don't get the problem here. Why didn't she stay at his house?
Oh, she wants him away from her, doesn't she?
Yeah, but Mercedes is staying in Tane's house.
Oh, that's true. She's bad, isn't she?
I don't understand. This just totally threw me completely. And then the Mercedes thing has totally thrown me, because all I'm thinking is this chick didn't want a bar of Remy, like romantically, until all of a sudden he's now got a permanent girlfriend. This is we keep being reminded, this is the first time he's hooked up with somebody that wasn't a one-night stand or a quick romance or whatever. This is something more serious, more permanent. He loves this woman. And now Mercedes has got her. Is she just trying to, mess up his life?
Yeah.
Destabilize it? I'm like, is she one of those kind of people that just wants to ruin someone else's happiness and get in between a couple?
I think so. Yeah, she's one of them. She's one of them, isn't she? I think she is. We were WhatsApping about it, weren't we? You were saying the same. Like, is she just interested now because she knows he's unobtainable? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I think she likes the game more than the prize. You know what I
Yes.
mean? She's
Yeah.
just a bit of a shit stirrer. You know?
I don't think she likes to see other people happy, and the fact that he's happy and settled, like, because she even said a weird comment to Flick, like, "Oh, I can't believe you're married. Like, why would you want to be caught? You know, why would you want to get married?" Which is fine to have that opinion, but to say that to someone else that is married is a bit weird.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Bit weird.
Mm-hmm.
Just thought, what are you playing at, lady? Like, where I don't understand. Like, she can't be happy for other people because it's not what she would choose to do. I find it really weird.
I don't think Remy's being very fair either. He must realise that his friendship with Mercedes is different to what friendships he has with others, and probably needs to be a little bit more sort of understanding on how that comes across. And I'm not saying he should change his friendships for somebody, you know, but I just think he needs to sort of be sent like. After Eden has that word with him, he goes over to hers anyway. And the first thing out of his mouth is, "You don't have to worry about Mercedes." I'm like, so you must be aware then that it's upsetting her. So why don't you just dial it back a bit?
Well,
you know
Eden
what I mean?
told him, didn't she? Eden basically said, "And by the way, she's not cool with you and Mercedes."
But
So,
Eden hadn't had a conversation with her. Eden just saw it.
oh yeah, Eden
Like,
just
is
saw
Remy
it.
blind?
He's oblivious. He's completely oblivious, isn't he? I think because on his side, the relationship is nothing. It's platonic, you know, and he really believes that it is from her side as well. I don't think he's even questioning it. I don't think he's noticed that she's looking at him differently and she's treating him differently, and
Load of melodrama, and I've got a funny feeling Cash is going to let himself. Remy's going to let himself down here. You know, I've got a funny feeling because she's a piece. She seems like, you know, she wants something, she'll get it type of gal. You know?
Yeah. Or I don't know. Maybe she'll get it in a way that, I don't know. Maybe get him drunk, or I just think there's something bad that's going to happen here.
Same. It's a load of melodrama anyway, and they make it to the Battle of the Bands the next day. Theo is nervous as all the big crowds when they get there. Did you see them? All 20?
It was a bit busier than Salt, let's be honest.
Yeah, it was, to be fair. But we're supposed to believe they've been touring.
Yeah.
It was a big room, though, to be fair. It was quite a good venue, actually. I thought it was quite well done. The stage looked good.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed it. And that's coming from moi. He's throwing up, isn't he, in all sorts, his poor Theo. He's absolutely nervous as, but he pulls it off. The set starts, and Flick and Brie are there supporting. They've got to be the loudest to get the points for the audience score, so they're there cheering him on, loudest in the thing. Flick has left her drink unattended while she's dancing. Big no-no, as we'll later come on to. So this is where things start to change from this being a big, you know, joyous competition. The band are all excited. They're on stage. They're playing the set. We're hearing all the songs that we've now grown to love, haven't we, Sophie?
Apart from that new one. Didn't like that new one. What was it? Secrets or something?
Put an orchestra on it, it wouldn't sound better, let alone a violin.
Good Lord.
And this is where things, like I say, take a turn. So Felicity's left her drink there, and we see an anonymous hand. Got lots of anonymous body parts this week on Home and Away. An anonymous hand spikes the drink with an unknown liquid. So very, very sinister turn to the events. Very juxtapositioned, I would say, because we were brought back to earth with a right bang at this point, thinking, shit, right? And Flick, as the sort of set's going on, as the other bands come on screen, as the evening rumbles on, she's starting to feel crook, and we're getting that through the camera and the effects that we're seeing on screen. And she takes herself out back, doesn't she, for air and some water or whatever it was she said she needed to get out of there and breathe. She's obviously intoxicated with whatever she's been spiked with, and she tumble down the stairs and appears to be unconscious at this point. I will stop at that moment what was your initial reaction sort of watching these scenes unfold? I thought this was kept quite well under wraps, so I'm interested to hear what your thoughts were, because I was sort of blindsided a bit by all this.
Yeah, I mean, we read about this in First Look last week, didn't we? Where we read the synopsis, and the synopsis didn't give this away at all. It said something devastating was going to happen, and that Remy would have to break the news to Tane, and we didn't have a clue what was going on, did we?
No.
So it did come out of nowhere, thankfully, because the bomb stuff, I saw the spoilers weeks ago, but this I didn't. So I managed to avoid this somehow. But I was just utterly devastated. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think I cried for 2 episodes. It was just horrendous. But Jackie has, oh my God, she's just played an absolute blinder with this storyline. She's just been brilliant, and I think that's the reason why I was so upset, because it felt so, it felt real to me.
It did. Yeah.
It was heartbreaking, the fact that she wasn't feeling very well and she went off on her own, and Brie was too involved with, you know, being jealous and watching Mercedes to even notice what was going on, considering, you know, she's a doctor. That broke my heart, that, you know, Flick had gone off on her own to start with. Then the fact that she was staggering around and she was bouncing off the walls, you know, and looked dreadful, looked like she was, you know, really struggling, intoxicated and what have you. And she walked past groups of people and they were looking at her. You know, it wasn't like they hadn't seen her. They were looking at her because she was bouncing off the walls. And nobody stopped her. Nobody said, "Are you okay?"
Yeah,
that was breaking my heart. It was just awful. And then to see her just passed out at the bottom of the stairs, and then you don't know what's going to happen at that point, but it's terrifying, isn't it? Really, this could happen to anybody, you know, men, women. It's just one of those things. We hear about this quite a lot. I think I read a statistic about how many people got spiked in Manchester, something to do with a Corrie storyline that happened, and it was a horrendous amount of people getting spiked.
I remember talking to you about that and being utterly shocked. Do you remember?
Really shocking. It's something that's quite prevalent, and just because it hasn't happened to you or someone you know doesn't mean it's not happening. The statistics, I can't actually remember them now, but they were ridiculously high, and I was really shocked. So this is a really important storyline, and I think if even one person now going forwards thinks, you know, I'll keep an eye on my drink, or I won't leave my drink unattended, if even one person changes that, I think they've done the job, haven't they?
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely. And boy, have they done the job. Like this, the way they've told this, the way it's been performed, written beautifully and sensitively.
Yes, it wasn't graphic.
No, and you can tell a lot of research has gone into how this might unfold and what it looks like afterwards for the victim, but also for those surrounding the victim and the event itself. And I think, you know, you've mentioned Jackie, but hats off to everybody. Jackie specifically, but hats off to everybody involved, because I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that might have been one of the best pieces of television I've seen this year, if not more. Like that episode that we're currently, you know, up to, where we're talking about the drink being spiked, her being knocked unconscious, and the whole sort of her coming to and realizing she's being sexually assaulted. To play it so real and so raw on what is a family daytime show, and it strike a chord is a phenomenal achievement. And I genuinely think, I mean, you couldn't hear anything in my house watching it, not a pin drop.
Well, you could in mine, because you could hear me crying.
Other than that, and I know I'm a fan, and I know I'm going to lap this stuff up, right? But it's such an important story that I implore anybody, even if you're not a regular viewer, if you sort of casual, whatever, go and watch this episode because it blows lots of other things that you watch on TV out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I can't add any more to that, really. Can you? I mean, we'll go back to the story. So she's come through. She's, like I say, realised that there's been some sort of assault, sexual assault. She's got ripped clothes, hasn't she? She's got no recollection. She's in a strange place. I mean, oh my God, she found the strength to pull herself back to the group. I mean, even that, you know, I was thinking how she's even managed to find that within her to get back to the group.
She's still clearly feeling the effects of whatever's been put in a drink, isn't she? She's still, you know, she's not able to really talk. She just collapses in Eden's arms when she gets back to the group.
Yeah.
It's just heartbreaking. I think for me, up until this point, until we knew exactly what had happened, it was so heartbreaking for me because it was like being alone in a room full of people, which is such a thing to feel. You know, the fact that she was so out of it. She went off on her own. Nobody noticed. Then lots of people saw her on her own and didn't help her. And then she's obviously crawled back on her own without any help as well. And it just felt so, it's just so heartbreaking, that bit.
Yeah. And it's a situation we all, like, you know, the setting, we've all been there. We all go to clubs and we all go to gigs and we all go to concerts and we all go out to bars and we're all, you know, it could be anybody that this happens to. And I think that's why it hits home so much. The Eden is first to notice, you know, and comes right to her rescue. You know, she's, what's wrong? Let's see to you. Let's find out what's going on. So Eden very much takes centre stage here in terms of support for Flick, doesn't she? And it's Bree. We sort of the end of the episode then, but next episode, Bree's checking her over. So they do realise that Bree's a doctor eventually. And Bree sort of kicks into action. And this scene, you know, where they're in the car and they've got her there and Bree's sort of saying, what happened? You know, what's this? What's that? And they're looking at her and no one's saying it, but everyone knows what's happened. Yeah. And I thought that was quite a powerful scene. There wasn't even that much dialogue. It was, but it was written over everybody's faces.
It was Flick this is when I really started to cry because she looked at her dress, didn't she? She was trying to cover herself up because I think that maybe the top of her dress strap had been broken or ripped or something, and she was trying to cover herself up and she looked distraught, and the way that she just looked at Eden, it was like this moment of realization came over her face where she realized what had happened to her. And then Eden looking at her, and then she realized, and then she looked at Bree and said to Bree, please tell me this isn't what it looks like. And that's when I lost it. I was like, oh my God, Jackie just, her face, like, she's such a good actress when it comes to stuff like this, you know, conveying the unspoken feelings and thoughts and things that, you know, and you can feel it, can't you, without her having to say a word.
Absolutely. It was spot on, wasn't it? The performance. Absolutely. That got me there as well. You know, the lip wobble, like that was the moment that sort of I was sort of keeping it together. I was sad, but sort of keeping it together up until that point. So it's definitely a powerful moment. They get her to the hospital on Bree's advice, and that's the first time really that she's forced to brutally face what's happened, because Bree has to say to her sexual assault, those words, she has to say those to her. And you know, there's a discussion about reporting it, and her immediate is, no, I don't want to report it. I can't face this. My brother's the policeman. I mean, he definitely can't find out about it. I thought Bree was quite good here. She manages to talk her into doing the forensic test, doesn't she? That we can do it now. We can save it for later if you need it. And I thought that was quite a good supportive way of doing it. Eden, of course, is with her the whole time, not pressing it, which I thought was was right to do. You know, the
Mm.
last thing she needed was somebody saying, "You need to tell the police. You need to get the bastard." You know, like, she didn't
Yeah.
need that at that moment, did she? This was
No. The most
too much.
important bit is what Bree did next. You know, the kit, you know, collecting all the samples and everything else. The police bit, it's important, obviously, if you do go down that route and
Yeah.
decide to pursue it and, you know, make a complaint. But it's not as time sensitive as the bit at the hospital that you but it's essentially making you relive another trauma, which is just, it's just horrendous. That's why that scene was just so awful to watch. It was just, oh God, it was so well done.
It was, and they showed it.
Yeah.
Like what they could, obviously, on a soap, but like we
Yeah.
saw that scene. The years of we've seen these things on soaps before, and I'm not so sure we've seen that scene before.
No, it was
on
very
anything else.
It was very accurate in terms of the collection of evidence. I mean, that can take hours. You know, you stand on a mat, they take your clothes off, get any evidence that falls off your clothes, bag your clothes up. Then they have to swab pretty much everything. You know, your cheeks, obviously, down below, everything else. Take hair samples, takes samples from under your nails, which they showed Bree doing as well. You know, in case you've managed to get any DNA from the person. You know, that can take absolutely forever. And obviously it's invasive, and it's, you know, your dignity and all that stuff. Again, you've already been through something that's quite indignified, and then it's having to relive it, I guess. So that whole scene, without it being gratuitous and without it being graphic, which none of it was, which I thought was really clever, because obviously, like you say, it's the daytime. It goes out at lunchtime. It goes out at 2:15, doesn't it, on the Channel 5? So they can't show anything too graphic or too gratuitous, but they showed the really fragile, vulnerable, awful, invasive side of it without it being that kind of gratuitous thing that, you know what I mean? It was so well done, I can't even describe it.
It was sublime how they managed to capture that fine line. It really was. And as well, we're sort of learning, like, this is as a result of someone's actions, like someone's well, I you know, like I said, we don't often see those scenes before. I'm learning here, like, shit, this is awful. You know, like, this is the worst thing that you could possibly do to anybody, you know, to have them have to face this. And it made me feel all that, and without, like you say, being too gratuitous. Now, that's all done, and whilst this is all happening, because we've not really mentioned it, Tane has arrived back from New Zealand. He's not at Battle of the Bands, is he? He's gone home with the duty-free, wondering where she is. And my mind starts turning to him now and others, because I'm a bit like, how's this going to affect him? What's his actions going to be as a result of it? What's going to happen to their seemingly perfect marriage since the wedding? I mean, they're fairly newlywed. What's going to be the mental health impact on Tane as well as Flick? They're going to be very different impacts, but there's going to be an impact nonetheless. So I'm starting to worry and panic about both of them, to be honest. And he's in the dark at this point. Like, he doesn't know. And it's Remy who has to volunteer. Well, he doesn't have to, but he volunteers to go and speak to him. And he goes and breaks the news to him. And it was just scene after scene of just these performances that are just gut-wrenching for me.
Yeah, they were so well done. But like you say, it was just a horrible watch, because it felt so real, I think. Didn't it? It felt like this, you know, and it's so, it should be that way, shouldn't it? Because you might not know that you know someone's been through this, but you definitely do, you know, whether it's a friend or a sister or a mum or an auntie or a cousin or whoever. And not just women, obviously this happens to men as well, but in this scenario it is a woman. This happens so often that you will know someone this has happened to, and they may not have had the courage to go and, you know, have the test done at hospital or go and speak to the police. They might be something they never discuss with somebody, or but it's that's why it's so real, isn't it? That's why it feels so awful.
And also like there's a responsibility on a show like this not to sort of not glamorize it. That's not the right word, is it?
I
But
know
you don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to be flippant or too flippant about it.
You can't make it glossy, and you can't make it, trivial. Or it was really heavy this week. I'll be honest. These couple of episodes, I really wasn't ready for it. I really wasn't ready because I was having like a really nice la week, and Andrew's safe, and it's all looking good. And then this I was like, what? It's just totally gut wrenched me. I don't know about you, but I wasn't expecting it, and it's killed me.
And it's happened to like the nicest characters, the characters that we're all invested in.
Yeah.
We love these characters. We've gone through a bit of a journey with them. This happy, just managed to get, they finally got married, Cloud9, wedding of the year. Like they're beyond happy, aren't they?
And it wasn't a picnic last year up until the wedding, was it? They split up for ages, and and now we're thinking, okay, what happens now? What happens with this marriage now? Because they've broken up before, and she's gone on to become, this binge drinker person. Now what are we facing? We've just got on an even keel with this pair, like you say, happily married. Where do we go now?
Been a long old road, and then this is what soap does, to bring them right up and then crash them as low as possible. And it toys with us. Did you notice that we're talking about sort of how hard hitting it was, and how gut wrenching? There was during these whole scenes, because we had a whole episode really of this, like a whole dedicated episode. Did you notice that which was episode 8054? If you've not seen
thank
it,
you.
look it up.
I'll need that for
first. Oh, sorry, damn it.
Yes.
There was a lot less sort of incidental background music, and I think that aided my emotions to surface, because we get a lot of that music on Home and Away. It's just part of the formula of the show. And this was like, the scenes were silent. And it was just two actors and giving the performance of their life, and it was just the way it was odd. It just, even down to that, and the edits and everything was just sublime, really. And then we have a bit of a period where Tane's sort of empty. He's quiet. He's shutting down. I think he's probably trying to process, like, how could this happen? There's Eden's hanging around, isn't she? Wanting to try and be helpful, and I think that's probably out of her carrying a little bit of guilt about her, her being there for her.
She was on stage, though. I don't think Eden's got any guilt to carry. The band was on stage when this happened. It was Brie that took her eye off Flick.
You're right, but I still think Eden's that type of guy. I think I would be like Eden as well. Like, she wouldn't have even been there. Like,
we take the guilt on, we take the responsibility on, but I don't think you can blame Eden for this at all.
No, I know you're right, but she won't see it the same way, will she? There's even this scene, isn't there, where Tane sort of semi blows, and he's like, "Where were you? Like, how could this happen under your watch?" And she's like, "You don't think I'm beating myself up about it?" You're just thinking. I saw a few comments online about what's he talking about. She's on stage. I'm thinking, but he's just sort of trying to process it, isn't he? And he's been so silent up to that point. Like, thoughts are just coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even that, I felt like, was a real, like, it's probably how
he's probably projecting. He's probably projecting as well, because I bet in his subconscious, he's probably thinking, if I hadn't gone to New Zealand, if I hadn't got to deal with my stupid bloody cousin and everything that's been going on with him, and now that this has happened, that seems not significant anymore. Who cares about the money? He's probably projecting, because I think anybody would feel guilty for not being there for her and being where he was.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's not
You'd be
it's not
thinking,
his fault at all, but he's probably blaming himself for not being
yeah,
there.
absolutely, absolutely. And he's protector. It's his wife. He's supposed to be
Yeah.
there to protect her and things. Absolutely, keep her from danger. Now talking about keeping things. So then there's this big sort of conspiracy to make sure Cash doesn't know anything about it under Felicity's instruction, and you just know it's not going to last long because they all know about it. They were there.
Yeah.
So it's not. You just know it's not going to last long. So it's that inevitability of Cash finding out. I felt like was really painful. I was like, oh God's sake. Luckily, it was Eden really that was the catalyst for it. I loved that. When Tani said, "Can you come back over and talk to her?" Like, she might talk to you, and she says, "You're underestimating him.
Yeah.
Do you trust me? Then you should trust your brother." And I think that's the moment she got through to her, wasn't it? If I'm right.
Because she was worried, wasn't she, that she was going to get a lecture, that made me cry again, because she was saying, no, he's told me to be careful, he's told me to be safe, he's told me not to do this, not to do that. She thinks he's going to be mad at her, which just breaks your heart even more, doesn't it? That she thinks that somebody's going to yell at her for her being in that situation, which is obviously not her fault. Yes, people should be careful of their drinks. Yes, people should be wary when they're out. Yes, people should be try and stay with their friends and not be on their own. But ultimately, people should not spike people's drinks. People should not attack people. And then these things wouldn't happen. So it's not into the victim blaming thing at all. So I felt so awful for her that she was blaming herself and thinking that that's what he was going to say. Because I thought, he's not going to say that. He's going to hug you and feel awful.
Which he does.
Yeah.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah, he does. He does. All that is her anxiety, her inner sort of battle, if you like, of that. I was going to say shame, but it is shame, isn't it? It's like she feels shame for it.
Yeah.
Like she brought it on herself, and it absolutely is not the case. And luckily he was great with her. Would you not be? That sort of scene at the beach the next day, and she then decides to make a statement and report it, and she goes off with Rose. I think that was a good idea. She goes with Rose, doesn't she, to the police station to file a statement. So completely blindsided. Very well done. And now it's like, crap. Like this, what are we doing now? Like, I'm worried for all, really. I'm worried for everyone. But obviously the band didn't go ahead with the competition, so like their skin. That's a trivial worry, but it's still, it's still something.
Yeah, we should mention the fact that they did get through to the final, didn't they? They were on the audience vote, and then they had to drop out, which was the right thing to do. They said, well, I agree. But that is a consequence then, isn't it, of this as well, that they aren't going to get that. Well, there's always going to be that what if they played the final, what if they won the money, what if they could afford the album. It's always going to be that hanging over it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm really worried about sort of Cash and Tani. Obviously I'm really worried about Felicity, but Felicity aside, I'm really worried about Cash and Tani. Cash now has all this other shit going on, with bombs going off, and and Vita Nova and all that stuff, and Margot. Like, he's now got his sister's been assaulted. Like, oh my God, like, I'm and yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, can this get any worse?
Yeah.
So we will find out, hopefully. Judging by how it's been treated so far, we're in for a really sensitive ride with it. But hopefully there is light at the end of the tunnel at some point. Right, and we've got time to cover Jamie's missus, What's she
Oh
called?
God,
Kate.
Kate and her
She's not
tiny
allowed-
problems. Sorry.
Just
No,
for
that's
balance.
harsh. That's harsh. She has got problems, but I couldn't handle her problems this week. I already had too much on my plate.
I'm not sure she's got anything to be complaining about, and I'll tell you why in a moment.
Well,
she can't
she
see
has got.
Timothy.
She's got a dead husband. That I feel sorry
Oh
for her
well,
for that.
okay, yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough. Forgot about him.
But I was like, I still don't feel very connected to her, and because she's just this random woman that we've never seen before. And I was like, I'm reeling from the John thing. I'm reeling from the Flick thing. I'm still reeling from Andrew, and I haven't got time for you, Kate. I'm sorry, I haven't got time. We have
No
one
more
problem
tears.
at a time, please.
No more tears left to cry. No.
No, can we just have one problem a week? Because this week was mad.
Mac is right. She's putting way too much on Xander. Xander's
Yeah.
got this survivor's guilt, remember? He feels
Yeah.
like he owes something. Like, whether he says it or not, she's saying, oh, I can't now see Timothy anymore because, like, he's not my child. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, and it's very, 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 very sad that your husband has left. But this is a reality. This is a real consequence of, like, partners and husbands and wives and things who have children that aren't yours. Like, they're not your children. Like, they're talking, aren't they, about she's had an argument with her. She won't let her see him, but then she does let her see him, and she goes to see him play golf or something, football, and then and Xander's like, yeah, that's fine, that's good, isn't it? And she's like, well, no, but he won't come and stay anymore. And I'm like, but that's because his father's died. He needs to be with his mother.
Yeah.
Like, he'll be grieving as well.
I think the problem with this storyline is I don't really know, and maybe I've missed it. I don't really understand how long Jamie and Kate have been married, and how often, if they've been married for years, and is it Timothy, the kid? If he comes and stays like every other week, and he has done for years, then she is family to him, and it is kind of cruel to take him away from her. But if they've only been together like a few times and they're not really got that close, I don't know. I see both sides of this. I see the mum's side of it, but I also see her side.
Yeah.
If effectively a son, someone that she treats like a son, if that is the relationship that we believe that they had.
I suppose as a grieving wife, his son is probably a connection to him, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's like you're losing them both in one sort of double whammy there.
Yeah.
I sort of see that side of it. But this whole talk of going for custody, I'm like, are you for real? He's got a mum. Why don't you just get on board with what the mum wants, And it, like you say, if they've been in each other's lives for a long time, then perhaps she still could be. But custody battles.
I think he's probably old enough. I don't know. I've got the impression he's like a 10-year-old. Maybe I've got that wrong. But they should be asking him. He's old enough to make a decision about who he wants to see, or live with, or not see, or not live with. You would have thought. I don't know.
Maybe. I think she's probably not dealing with the loss of her husband.
Yes.
And using this as a major sort of distraction.
Yeah.
And I guess he's the final link to her husband, isn't he? So I can probably give her that one. But I just think, and Xander's just sort of agreed, yes, no, 3 bags full. So go and speak to a lawyer. And I'm thinking, Xander, that's not the right thing to do. She needs to go and speak to the mum and really, even if it's bad blood, if it's you want to see Timothy, you need to get on board with the mother, is all I'm thinking. And then thinking, do I care? But
I can see her point of view. I don't know what the right thing to do is. I don't think it's necessarily to bring the lawyers out. So I think that's just, like you say, it's going to exacerbate things at a time when everyone's feeling awful and grieving. But yeah, at the same time, I'm thinking, if she has spent a lot of time with him and she treats him like her son, it is like losing her son and her husband in the same week, which is pretty awful, isn't it? I can see it from that side.
It is. I am surprised that she's not got a leg over yet with Xander, though.
He's not even cold.
It's gonna happen. Tell
It's
you.
there's probably going to be an awkward kiss followed by lots
Yeah.
of running away from each other. I
Yeah.
think. Oh,
Then
it's going to
brief
happen.
brief sex.
Oh, don't. Oh, I'm not. I don't want to see it. I just wish they would give Xander a story that wasn't him latching on to somebody that's going through crap. Because he's done this with patients. He's done this with people that have been admitted to hospital. Latched on to people that are going through a really bad time. And then he had that weird fling with that woman that, treated him like crap. Oh, I don't know what we're doing with Xander. He's just become like the empath of the Bay that just gets misused by everybody that's going through loads of crappy
Used
times.
and abused. Yeah. That's why he suits the bar. That's why he suits the bar.
True. Whoa, right, that was a bit of a heavy main podcast, wasn't it?
Wasn't it just? Yeah.
Phew. Well, thank you for everybody for getting through that with us. Yeah, and are you ready for the next segment, Si?
Just about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
We're
Yeah.
ready. We're going to do Your Say on the Bay. So obviously you've heard all. My fave too. Everyone's just heard us talking about the last week on Homers. The last week on Homers has been exhausting. We've had the end of the cult, we've had the end of the studying organics threats, and we've had the start of this harrowing storyline with Flick. It's just been a lot. So obviously the main episode that we've just done has probably been quite long, I'd imagine. So thank you for sticking around.
Thank you.
And now we're going to talk about your thoughts. So for anyone who's new here, what we do now is we have a little look at what you, the viewers of Home and Away, think about the episodes that have gone on air this week, on everything that we've been discussing on the main segment. So I've been digging through social media. I've been taking some of your comments and your reactions, and I'm going to read those out to Si. But before I do that, I'm going to let you know that, as usual, we are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Threads, we're on YouTube, and we're still on that app that was formerly known as Twitter, which I will not call by its new name. And I will still say that we tweet along. We tweet along. I'm sticking with that word.
Mm-hmm.
We tweet along with the show while we watch it at 6:30 p.m. Monday to Friday on 5 Star here in the UK. And no, we will not be changing our routine. It's 6:30 p.m. or nothing. So, yeah, if you're not happy to see spoilers, then please mute us. And apologies, but because of work, we have to do the 6:30 p.m. one. So if you're into your socials, as they say in the Bay, look for us on social media. Our account name in most places is at Coastal News Pod, or just search for Coastal News Podcast. Come and join us, find us, join in with the discussion, tell us your thoughts. So we're going to read some of your thoughts now. So, first of all, we're going to start off with the conclusion of the cult storyline. So everyone's been talking about the cult storyline for weeks and weeks and weeks. And this week, there's only one thing that people are talking about in relation. They're not talking about, poor Justin and his crossbow leg. They're not talking about Andrew. They're talking about Leah and Leah's anger management. As you can imagine. So, first of all, going over to Facebook, we have Victoria who said, "Oh, I'm glad Leah slapped that woman. I hate that horrible message that was playing out on the loudspeaker about being weak and strength and things that gave me the creeps." And she said, "I'm glad Andrew's safe. It's the most he's spoken as well." Yeah, it is actually probably the most lines Andrew's had this week in one episode, is it? Don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he was quite not wanting to say much, wasn't it? Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, found his voice.
He's had to talk, hasn't he? Because he's had to phone Leah and say, "Come and help me, SOS." So Victoria, glad she slapped Margot. Pat's also saying, "Loved it. Glad Andrew is safe." What a slap it was.
We were saying where it was very satisfying. That slap.
It was a good slap. I watched it a couple of times. It was great. Kelly says, "Oh, Leah, you legend. That slap was amazing." And Chad on Twitter also saying that was a great slap and so well deserved. So lots of people are saying this. Mark on Facebook actually saying that episode, and bearing in mind this was Monday before we saw any of the other drama that unfolded this week. Mark saying best episode he's seen in ages. So
Absolutely.
I wonder what Mark thought of the rest of the week. But yeah, on Monday, best episode Mark had seen in ages. So that's Cult, Slapgate, whatever you want to call it. Now,
I keep
obviously,
it every time you say cult, I keep hearing a different C word. Continue.
Sorry, it's my accent, is it? Culture. Yeah. Not that other similar word. I didn't say that, Mom, I promise. God, you can get me in trouble with my mother.
Sorry.
No, I had to say that word. I had to say C word. Flick, right. God, we have to talk about Flick, don't we? Because oh my God. I mean, you've just heard us talk about it for a long time on the main segment, but amazing. So what do other people think? And I'll be honest, a lot of people are echoing what we said. I haven't seen any bad comments about the Flick storyline. So Nikki on Facebook says, I'm agreeing with everyone's comments here because the threads were just full of praise for this storyline, I'll be honest. And she said, tonight's episode in the UK was heartbreaking. I've watched this from the start. I love this show, but tonight's episode really made me cry. Jackie Purvis's acting was absolutely brilliant, as was the rest of the cast involved. Well done for tackling something so common and so devastating. So yeah, absolutely agree with you, Nikki.
Yeah, well said, Nikki.
That summed up everything that we're thinking, really, with that comment, which was really helpful. Thank you. Thank you for that.
If we'd have known that an hour ago.
That were just 3 lines and done. Damn it. Yeah, no, really agree with that. So Holly on Twitter says the reaction of Tane and Cash was just heartbreaking. What an upsetting storyline, but so well acted. Never leaving my drink unattended ever again.
Wow, there you go.
If you can just change it for one person.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving that people are recognizing this. I know I was saying this standalone episode, I think everybody needs to watch it.
Yes, they do. Yeah, absolutely. Whoever you are, whatever you're doing, whether you like Home and Away or not, this is a storyline that can touch everybody, and it was pretty much self-contained in one episode, wasn't it? So
yeah, let's start a petition to play that episode in schools.
Yeah, it's important. It is important. Definitely, because there was so much failure around what happened, you know, with other people not getting involved and not seeing, not helping, not, you know what I mean? So talked about on the main pod, but lots of lessons to be learned from this episode. Dame Lady Jazz, which is just a brilliant name on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
I know. I love that. It's such a brilliant name. So she says, Home and Away today was some of the most heartbreaking television I've ever seen. Shaken to my very core. Poor Flick.
I said similar, didn't I? I said it was the best television I've seen in a long time. Like this year, I haven't watched anything like it.
No.
And I think the fact that everybody's feeling the same shows you how powerful it was.
Yeah, you know? Absolutely. Lots of people saying they were crying. So Betty on Facebook said, had me crying. It was heartbreaking. Denise said, sobbed my heart out. What fabulous acting. Linda said, you know, thank you for raising such sensitive subjects. Best soap ever. Jamie on Twitter said, what a brutally emotional episode of TV. And then someone else, Jeanette, saying, I actually cried during this episode. Let's hope she doesn't turn to drink again. Because that is the worry, isn't it? That what's going to happen to Flick now?
Yeah. Well, yeah, our minds are turning to that now, aren't they? Like, where do we go from here? What happens to those surrounding her? Like, our minds are turning to that now, aren't we? And we're a bit like, Do you know what's funny? You and I didn't even talk about. Sorry, no, I'm not supposed to talk as much in this bit now.
Don't worry.
Something's just come to mind. We've not discussed. Isn't this funny? And this is probably how mad and how powerful the aftermath was. We haven't discussed who potentially the perpetrator is.
Well, I was just going to read you a comment from somebody on Twitter, because people haven't really been talking about who. No, I didn't really see that many comments saying who did the hand belong to, because we saw this mysterious hand, as you said in the main podcast, put something in her drink, and was it intended for Flick? You know, was it supposed to be for Bree? We've got these questions now, but nobody's really asking who it was. We have had a lot of talk about, you know, was Flick the intended target? Should it have been Bree's drink? And somebody on Twitter actually said, could it have been could this involve Mercedes somehow? Because obviously we've seen that Mercedes and Brie have got some weird beef going on to do with Remy, and how Mercedes obviously feels about Remy and all of that stuff, the things that he's completely oblivious about that we've already talked about in the main episode.
Yeah.
But somebody's actually saying, could Mercedes be involved? So, you know, was it supposed to be for Brie? Is she that evil? I can kind of see where they're coming from, because we've been told, even before Mercedes rocked up in the bay, we were told by Eden, you can't trust her. She's a snake. She's manipulative. She's only out for herself. Could she stoop so low as to organise somebody's drink to be spiked? I don't know. I hope not.
Oh, can you imagine though?
I know. I mean, is it, you know, and should it have been Brie instead of Flick? I mean, that's horrendous to think, isn't it? But it is out there as a theory. I'll be honest. People are talking about it. So
one to watch, because I'm also thinking Tani and Cash, or Cash, one or the other, or both, could go down the whole anger. I'm gonna find him.
Yes.
Route.
Yeah.
When this, you know, when the dust settles, like,
yeah,
and that's a concern as well.
Yeah. It's very scary. I really hope it's not that, but I don't know what I hope it is, you know, because whatever comes out of this, it's going to be horrendous, isn't it? So
yeah.
I just hope it isn't Mercedes, because that's even worse. And then one last comment on Flick. So Emma Jane on Facebook said, I cried. Jackie Purvis was incredible. What a powerful storyline. And then onto the bomb. I actually can't cope. I think that speaks for all of us. Oh gosh, yeah. We just had this, and then we had the bomb. So it was like, oh my god, I can't breathe. So onto the bomb while Emma Jane's raised it. So what have people been saying about the bomb? Now, combing through social media, as you can imagine, the comments are quite similar. So there was a lot of, oh my god, what an explosion. Oh my god, poor John, they better not kill him off. You know, JP is a very much loved character. We know this because we ran a poll recently, didn't we, on our Twitter, asking people to sort of show us who their favourite characters were. And John has absolutely stormed ahead, and he's won the most popular character, essentially.
Yeah, on the tier maker thing.
He did, yeah. He never came lower than a really like, I don't think. He was either love or really like. I don't think he came any lower than that. He didn't have any votes lower. So he's ended up being the most popular character, which I'm not shocked about. You know, I think it probably echoes how we feel about him, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So lots of the comments were people saying, no, not John. Not many were saying that about Rue, I'll be honest. A lot of people were saying, please, not John Palmer. He's one of my favourites. Don't kill him off, etc. So that's lovely, because obviously, you know, Shane deserves all that credit for his performance. He's just brilliant.
Yeah.
But what I thought I would do is I'd choose some of the other comments to read out. So obviously there were lots of people praising the explosion, saying how amazing it looked on TV. I mean, it did. You didn't, you know, we've posted the behind the scenes video on Twitter. People can go and have a look at that. It was an amazing explosion. And obviously people were concerned for John and for Rue. So rather than read out, you know, a 1,000 comments that are all saying the same thing, I thought I'd pick some that were slightly different to read you.
Okay. Yeah.
So Andrew on Facebook said, Rue sent the text message, and it looks like she'll be the one to live with the consequences. And I thought that was interesting, because not many people are talking about this, and like how Rue's ended up being basically the most badly injured out of this whole debacle. And it was her that kind of escalated this. I mean, we don't know whether this guy would have, you know, set this bomb off anyway, whether they'd retaliated to the text messages or not, because he might just be a complete lunatic. But it is interesting.
It is interesting, but would they even know Rue existed? Like she was doing it from Marilyn's phone?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's just that Rue has set off the chain reaction. It doesn't matter who it was. Rue's antagonized this person. He might not know it was Rue that antagonized him, but Rue's also the one that's been burned, literally.
Oh yeah,
so it's quite interesting from that point of view, isn't it? It's like, oh, I don't know how to feel about it, but Denise was saying the police should have made more of an effort to find the caller or the texter, which is something we talked about on the main pod. It does feel like they've dropped a bit of a clanger here, and I don't know what the consequences of that on Cash, really. Whether there is going to be. We talked about that on the main pod, didn't we?
We did. He's dropping clangers everywhere, that fella, and there's obviously missing paperwork.
Yeah, that was an interesting sort of blink and you miss it line. I'll be looking out for that next week as well. I'll let you know if I hear any more.
Thank you.
Yeah, keeping an ear out for it specifically. But there were people that didn't enjoy this storyline, so I thought I'd read these ones out to you, because a lot of people really did, and they were, I think with this storyline, as we say on this podcast a lot, you had to Jenny it, as we say, you have to just go with it. You can't really apply real life logic and thinking to the show. If you did, you'd just turn it off, wouldn't you? You just wouldn't watch it. And I think some people are getting annoyed with this because it does feel kind of far-fetched and ridiculous. So I'll read you some of the comments out. So Shaz says, this storyline is totally ridiculous, as if a cosmetic company would send out a bomb. I mean, Home and Away has had a few ridiculous storylines lately, but this one, and then ... I've loved this soap since day one when I was a kid at school. Those were the best days when life was life. Tom and Pippa were fostering. Alf and his bait shop. Get back to real stories. I picked this one specifically for you.
Just to wind me up. Go on.
So, tell me your thoughts. Tell Shaz what you think of the comment.
Shaz, if it was Tom and Pippa fostering kids and all, stealing sweets from the shop, nobody would be watching it in 2023. There we go, Shaz. Got to compete with all the Netflixes of the world.
Yeah.
Competing for your attention. Yeah. We've got to blow some shit up every now and then.
We have to, and I think if you go back and watch that, because we know the first two seasons are on Amazon, aren't they, of Home and Away, back when it first started. And I did start watching them, but it wasn't gripping me in the same way that it does now, I'll be honest. I was a bit like, oh yeah, Docs, oh yeah, Wall of Keys, oh yeah, towel for the caravan. It's not as exciting as it is nowadays. And I guess if that's what you want, then that's fine.
Yeah. There is a place for that in a soap.
Yeah.
There really is. But I think the genre has had to move.
Yes.
With the TV landscape, and I think the more we accept that, the more we'll enjoy these shows.
Yes.
And it's not just Home and Away that has that discussion in its fan base. It's happening on the other soaps as well.
Yeah.
Look, there's a massive conversation about it with Coronation Street. And how it used to be one way, and nowadays it's like all far-fetched and stuff. We're the exact same on Home and Away. And if Coronation Street was still, in the 70s, Stan and Hilda pegging washing out, no one would watch it in 2023. Yeah. So you've got to move with the TV landscape. TV now, the money that's pumped into it, these massive high-budget drama shows, those are what people are watching. And if you've got any chance of them watching you've got to get up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, and to get that new audience, which I think we need. You've got to draw them in, and they're not going to be drawn in by some of the oldest classic storylines. I think you're right.
No, too slow. They're too slow, and that kitchen sink stuff is important. Don't get me wrong. I'm not dismissing it entirely. Like, you need it. It helps build that community. You do need it, but you've got the heightened stuff. You also need.
Yes,
they all play a role. Yeah,
I think that's what personally I find I quite like about Coronation Street is it does the kind of chats in the pub really well. Just the mundane, chats you have with your mates and the kind of in-jokes you have with them. It does that really well. But then it does do this serial killer random storyline, which if it was just the chats in the pub about Sally's hot tub every day, I'd be bored. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. But not everybody feels that way. So Craig said the way the bomb was being passed around is pathetic. Why are the storylines becoming so mundane? And then I think that's the thumbs down, but I'm not sure. It could be a middle finger. The emoji is small.
Now a bomb's mundane. Blimey.
I know. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know whether I agree with that. But Stuart then says nobody's opened the box when deliveries stopped arriving. Suddenly, a box arrives, finding the story quite far-fetched and boring. Gosh, what does Stuart watch normally if he thinks this is boring? And then friend of the pod, Macca, on Twitter said, I'm really disappointed in this bomb. No way in a million years they'd survive that. After the brilliance of yesterday, which was the Flick episode, I thought that was poor. So not everybody's a fan of this bomb.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it's quite mixed reaction to this.
Yes.
And it probably cost a lot of money and all the rest of it. But actually, the more character-driven episode, with Felicity's assault, which was obviously all character-led. It wasn't, plot, really.
Yeah.
And everybody was a landslide, loved it and praising it. Isn't that funny? That you don't always need a big sort of stunt, actually a really well written, really topical issue, really well performed, has people over more than that does. Quite interesting, that, actually.
I think it's a shame that they did both in the same week. I know that they did this because it was leading up to the season finale in or mid-season finale, is it? I can't remember, in Australia.
Yeah.
When they go for their break. So I know they were doing it all to sort of tie in with that. And I think for us, because we're not having a break for the summer, we have ours in the winter, it's felt really strange that all of these things have happened in the same week. And I think we probably could have done with the Flick being 1 week, the bomb being the next week, Andrew being the next week, to have that kind of, like we say, we're worried about next week being a bit flatter now because this week's been so mad.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that. Maybe it's one after the other, and you're comparing them more easily then because they're literally straight after one another.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Don't know. So that's what people thought of the bomb. But who do we think the bomber is? So obviously the obvious perpetrator is the CEO of Stunning Organics. All the videos that Marilyn and Kirby have been videoing or filming have been directed to him. Where are you, Mr. CEO? Come out wherever you are. We're not scared of you. But we still don't really know for sure who sent the bomb. As we said on the main episode, we've seen this shoulder man, watching the videos, but we don't know who he is. And not everyone's convinced that this company would be so ballsy as to send a bomb with their own name written on the side.
Mm-hmm.
As somebody says, so Andrea on Facebook said, I'm intrigued. Why would a company fully dress the bomb in the company's name and logo? I think it's her daughter. So she thinks it's Heather.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one of our possibilities for who it would be.
That would be good, though.
It would be good. Harriet echoes something you said recently, because you said, wouldn't it be good if the Vita Nova storyline was somehow intertwined with the Stunning Organics one, and the cult were behind the bomb? And Harriet on Facebook has said, I actually wondered whether Vita Nova and Stunning Organics was somehow linked. It's a lot to have both storylines running alongside each other at the same time. ... So another one who thinks there's a possible link, which we don't know. There could be.
Could be. They're definitely capable. That's all I'll say.
Evil enough, I think. Yeah. But Mark on Facebook has got a very left of field theory. Mark says this would be a very big twist in Home and Away history if it was Marilyn's son Byron and he never died at all, and it's him behind the bomb. Now that would be insane.
Oh,
because
blimey.
You and I have talked about Byron and Byron's death and how traumatic that was because we were quite young when that happened. And I don't think I'm ready for that, Mark. I'm sorry. Don't think I can handle it. Still not over that whole storyline anyway.
That retcon might finish me off.
That and the Heather one would just be like, no, too much. Too much. But we did run a poll, didn't we, on Twitter? Because we had our own wild... You and I had a bit of a text chat over WhatsApp, and we were like, right, if it's not Stunning Organics, who could it possibly be? And we threw out some names, didn't we? Shall I read out the answers? Right, these are wild stories, wild theories. So with 25% of, so the poll is actually two different polls. So poll 1, because we couldn't get all the names in the same poll. So poll 1, with 25% of the vote, Flathead Fisher, revenge on his ex-wife. Interesting theory. 6%, so not very many people went along with this. Judgy Ruru actually blew herself up.
Yeah, she didn't do it very. I've had enough of this shit.
I think when we were talking about that, it was before we knew that Ruru was going to be in the car with the bomb. We thought maybe she's really annoyed that Marilyn didn't take the allergic reaction quite to, the extent that she should have. The seriousness of it,
I told her to shut this business down. I'll show her.
You and your little friend. So no. Then Heather got 31% of that poll. So people are more likely thinking, more likely Heather than Flathead Fisher or Judgy Ruru. But even more likely than Heather, the winner of the poll is Madge Wilkins, the old Colleen gossip friend.
I love that.
So Madge, you're number one suspect in that poll, I'm afraid, love. What would Madge think? What would Madge think of that? That's what I want to know. Oh dear, the elusive Madge. Love it.
She's sitting there with videos of Marilyn stroking the cat.
Yes, absolutely.
The evil cat. Yeah.
God, how old is she now? About 150.
Probably. But there's not a thing she doesn't know about nobody.
Oh no, definitely not. And then poll 2. So poll 2, we had neck and neck, 13% apiece. We've got Kieran, who's gone off the wagon. He's got drunk in the potting shed and built a bomb.
When anything bad happens, we always say Kieran's got this somewhere and made it happen.
I can't believe anybody voted for this. I thought it was just an in-joke between you and I about Kieran getting drunk in the potting shed. But 13% of the vote went to Kieran. 13% of the vote also went to Lancey, Colleen's son, that also used to be Marilyn's ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
Another one out for revenge. And then the winner of poll 2, by quite a margin, 74%, Jet's wife-to-be, who I can't remember the name of her now. We haven't actually seen her on screen. But obviously we know that Marilyn's done all this Stunning Organics business to try and raise money so she can chip into Jet's wedding. And you and I were talking on WhatsApp, and I think I said, wouldn't it be funny if Jet's wife was really annoyed that their names are being dragged all through the national newspapers and talking about the wedding and stuff, and actually she sent the bomb to shut her up. But 74% of the vote went to that ridiculous theory, so I'm quite impressed.
Yeah. People, I'll tell you, got imaginations.
People believe anything that we tell them, but it's hilarious. Oh dear, I'm glad we can end this on a bit of a lighter note anyway, because I think overall, I think it's been fair to say this week on Home and Away has been stressful, but it has been a brilliant week of drama, hasn't it? And been quite a few comments, just generally people saying I've really enjoyed the drama. So Joe Lawrence said really enjoying it this week, but a bit annoyed about how much they give away in the previews. Now I agree, because some of the trailers at the end of the episodes, I was trying to turn it off, but I couldn't look away. And then you kind of see the car blow up and then immediately see that everyone in it's still alive. And you're like, oh, well, where's the peril? Where's the drama? Where's the shock? And, there isn't any. So I agree with you, Joe. Bluebell Ivy on Twitter says the storylines have been fantastic at the moment. And Michelle says, take me back to John and Alf arguing about the Surf Club Wi-Fi upgrade. Yes, we need some mundane comedy next week, I think, to get us through.
Lift us up.
Yeah, definitely. But it's really nice to see those comments, people generally enjoying the show this week. A lot of positive stuff, especially about the Flick storyline, which leads me on to my last point before we go. So voting is open right now for the Inside Soap Awards, which is if you go to the website insidesoap.co.uk/awards, you can vote for the best daytime star, and the nominees in that category for Home and Away are Justin, Theo, Flick, and Leah. So you can go and, obviously, if you've really enjoyed the Vita Nova storyline, if you've really enjoyed the Felicity attack storyline, go and vote, and make sure that
let's get Jackie an award.
Yeah, brilliant. So get on there. So insidesoapawards.co.uk/awards, and it ends on Friday the 25th of August.
Oh, not long. Get your votes in.
Thank you for listening. We will be back with more episode discussion from Summer Bay soon. Until then, join the discussion online at Coastal News Pod.